welkom terug. Groot kommer heers oor voorgestelde wetgewing wat skoolbeheerliggame se magte wil inperk wanneer dit kom by toelating en taalbeleid en die regering se magte vermeerder oor skoolsamesmeltings. Die DA sê die nuwe planne kom daarop neer dat die regering 'n soort staatsgreep op beheerliggame wil uitvoer. Baxolile Nodada is 'n LP en die DA se woordvoerder oor basiese onderwys. So what powers do schools currently have that they won't have if this amendment bill is passed, governing bodies?
Goeienaand, Lorenza. Dis lekker om hier te wees. I think what is most important is understand that school governing bodies, through the white paper, have a responsibility of ensuring that they put policies for admissions and languages in schools. When you're taking away this power, you're taking a power away from parents and communities that know what is best for their children. And that's why it's important that we put this out there to ensure that the power remains with the parents and the communities that know what's best for their children, and to ensure that we encourage the type of education that needs to ensure that the 1 in every 5 children that can't read for meaning as we speak are able to do it in their own language.
So who will get more power if this amendment bill is passed, and who will get less?
Well, the MECs and the HODs in the different provincial education departments will get more power. They will have power to, one, amend any admissions or language policies of any schools. The MECs can even further indicate which language of instruction a school can now have, and they can be able to change that based on this particular amendments.
So practically speaking, what would it mean in a province like Gauteng if our MEC Panyaza Lesufi would have these powers?
Look, as we know that MEC Lesufi has quite a vendetta, particularly against mother tongue education in Afrikaans, and we know that he would abuse this particular clause to try and merge and rename schools for him to, to push his agenda. And this is, it will affect quite a lot of schools, because the schools that actually produce quite good results are schools that actually, teach mother tongue. I was in Uppington doing oversight, for example, in the Northern Cape, where the school, is over 90% of the learners actually learn in Afrikaans, and they are from across the board. And that school actually performs quite well in the Northern Cape. And it's important to ensure that we don't allow MECs like Panyaza Lesufi to abuse this particular clause. And I think this particular clause is actually the Lesufi clause to try and drive his agenda against mother tongue education and school governing bodies.
One argument would be that in some instances there might be gatekeeping, where certain students are excluded because they don't speak Afrikaans, and as a result they don't get the same quality education.
Look, there is recourse for that. The responsibility of the MEC when school governing bodies actually create their admissions and language policies, their code of conduct. If there are schools that are trying to keep out certain learners based on their own policies, that's where the MEC must intervene. Because at this current moment, the legislation basically says that when they've submitted the amendments, that the MEC can change the admissions and language policy or amend the admissions and language policy. And then if you've got a problem with that as parents or communities, it is the very same MEC that you appeal to, meaning that he's then becoming a player and a referee. His responsibility is to be what? A referee. So that we ensure that schools are actually open to learners for them to access quality education and not be excluded. And if there are schools that are utilizing these policies to exclude certain learners, that is the responsibility of then the MEC and the minister, for example, to intervene in those instances.
Some proponents would also say that this will address inequality.
Look, what will address inequality is to ensure that the school that I visited in Loding, for example, that wants to teach their learners in isiNdebele, but don't have an isiNdebele teacher, is to ensure that those type of schools actually have mother tongue educators, and they even have a library that is set up without those books that they need, despite having asked for years. There are schools that I'm talking about in Uppington that has got a variety of learners from all backgrounds of life that prefer mother tongue education in Afrikaans to be able to be taught in that language for them to achieve the best results. Even the Eastern Cape, where I come from, there are schools that need to be assisted in ensuring that there are teachers that can teach in isiXhosa so that they can be able to comprehend their maths, their science, their languages and other subjects in the mother tongue that they best understand, that is of their instruction. So in order for us to create quality education, it does not necessarily mean that we must dilute what is there or trying to break down what already is working, but we must be able to build on it, particularly where it doesn't work, to ensure that people actually access opportunities having studied in their own mother tongue.
Do you think that predominantly white and Afrikaans schools being politically targeted by this amendment bill?
Look, I do think that specifically in Gauteng province, that's why we call it the Lesotho clause, because he's made it very clear that he would, merge and rename Afrikaans schools. And if that power then lies within his office, he's then got, a power to amend any admissions and language policies of schools, which, by the way, will end up affecting learning, in quality learning in the classroom, which will produce quality results. You see, the problem with this particular bill, they're trying to make it about everything else than what it actually is about. And we need to focus on the fact that it is about mother tongue education, and we must ensure that we enhance mother tongue education rather than breaking it down so that we can produce quality learning. And focus, whatever laws we're doing must be focused on how do you produce quality teaching and learning in the classroom so that these learners can leave school and be able to contribute in the economy and change the circumstances of their birth.
Just shortly, how can communities stand up to this bill?
Look, first and foremost, as a Democratic Alliance, we've launched a petition today, and that petition is basically to say that we must stop politicians, taking over our schools, and people can sign that particular petition at petitions.da.org.za, where you can make your voices heard that these particular clauses that indicate that MECs and HODs now have power to amend admissions and language policies, and even give an indication of what mother tongue instruction can be given in schools, must actually be stopped in its tracks. But following that, Parliament, as the portfolio committee that I'm also serving on, will be embarking on public participation tours across the country to get the inputs of people. They can do it in writing. They can also come and give oral submissions when those are published. And I think it's something that we'll continuously communicate and something that you can look after.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Daar is 'n ou Afrikaanse gesegde wat ek ongelukkig nie ten volle kan herhaal op regstreekse televisie nie, maar dit eindig: betaal is die wet van Transvaal. En hoewel baie dinge verander het, die Tshwane Metro die afgelope week in die gees van die ou uitdrukking opgetree. Meer daaroor na die advertensies.